Mike Eddy, and this is Century Today. Welcome. Today we're talking about distracted driving. For several years, our students here at Century College have been working closely with the Minnesota Highway Patrol to produce public service announcements, or PSAs, regarding distracted driving. With me today is Sergeant John Thompson. John, welcome.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you. Today we're going to talk with Sergeant Thompson about distracted driving and how it affects young people in particular. And the students have made some videos to show in that regard. So tell us a little bit about yourself. How did you get involved with Minnesota State Patrol?
Well, when I first started, before I became a trooper, I was a Hennepin County jailer.
Okay.
And was interested in law enforcement and saw a number of my co-workers go to law enforcement school, which I had a 4-year degree already, and I didn't have to do much more than to go to skills. And then got hired with the premier department in the state, the Minnesota State Patrol. Did 16 weeks of academy up at Camp Ripley.
Okay.
We were the first class in 1996 to go up to Camp Ripley and have our full boot camp up there.
Wow.
And I'll tell you, it's the greatest training that I've ever had in my life.
Wait, 96, 2016, that's 20 years.
Yes, this is my 20th year as a state trooper. Thank you.
That's awesome. Have you done different roles within that? I mean, do you rotate jobs in the 20 years, or?
Well, when I first came out, I was just a road trooper assigned to what's called the 2510 station,
Okay.
and that's covering Scott and Carver County.
Okay.
And then I got really interested in doing crash reconstruction and became a certified crash reconstructionist, and took the next step and became part of the Metro Crash Reconstruction Team.
Okay.
During my time there, I obtained the highest accreditation as a crash reconstructionist, called ACTAR certification.
Okay.
And did that full-time for 10 years.
Wow. So when you say it's with the Twin Cities, are you working with other agencies then?
So anytime that there was a fatal or serious injury crash, they would call somebody. It didn't matter what department.
Okay.
And we would come and assist them and investigate the fatal or serious injury crash.
I would imagine that there were a lot of fatal crashes, more than we would like to have.
Yes. My caseload was, I'd probably go to anywhere from 60 to 70 fatal or serious injuries every year in the metro area.
Yeah. That's too many.
It is way too many.
This semester, we've been focusing on distracted driving, and the students have been studying that and producing some commercials regarding that. What's your view on distracted driving?
That it's way too common, that people just take it for granted because they're in this comfortable car and aren't getting the feedback from outside and don't know the dangers of those high speeds and how quickly a life can change from a car crash.
Now, texting has been, in the news a lot, and although texting is a small part of distracted driving, right? I mean, we're not just talking about texting.
Correct. It's becoming more and more prevalent that people are on their phones or on their electronic device. And texting is just one of the small pieces of what people are doing on their phones, which are causing them to be distracted and then therefore causing car crashes.
So what might be some other forms of distraction? We talk about the distracted driving as a whole. What falls into that category?
Well, it could be as simple as turning around, checking a baby that's in a car seat behind you that's crying, rather than taking the time to pull over.
Okay.
I had a case recently where I responded to a crash in Belle Plaine where a mother was doing that exact thing and ended up rear-ending a school bus.
Oh my.
Thank goodness nobody was hurt in that situation. But she was extremely embarrassed because she realized, what I did was wrong. And she was one of the rare drivers who was honest enough to own up to what she did.
Okay. What might be some other types of distractions?
Well, it could be as simple as talking to somebody
Oh,
that's in
okay.
your car, or eating, or listening to loud music,
Okay.
putting on makeup. Um, it's unbelievable the things that you see people doing in their cars other than driving.
Are there some crazy stories you have of people doing some really odd things?
Yes, and I don't know that all of them are appropriate for TV.
No, okay. No, I didn't mean that, but like putting on makeup, and I've heard of people shaving, or really?
Yes. Yep. One gal going northbound on 169 was driving with her little sister, and there was a fly in the front of her car. And she went to try to kill the fly and was distracted, lost control of her vehicle, went across the center median, across both lanes of traffic, and she was lucky. She skidded to a halt facing the correct way, southbound on 169, on the shoulder. She was so shaken by what just happened and the near misses,
Yeah.
she couldn't drive.
Yeah.
She couldn't physically drive anymore. And this is a good happy ending story.
Yeah.
So many times when they cross over like that
All
because
right.
of the distraction, somebody gets seriously injured or killed.
Yeah. Wow. Are there some distractions that are worse than others? I mean, is there things that we should really avoid, or is it?
Well, anything that takes your mind or your attention away from what you're doing,
Yeah.
in our mind, is a bad thing. And I wouldn't say one thing is worse than the other.
Right.
When we get behind the wheel, our focus needs to be on driving
Yeah.
and not on everything else that's going on.
Okay. Are there? So this is a big issue. Are there some statistics that point to how prevalent this is, or what some of the problems are?
Well, according to our crash facts, which is what troopers or officers report on their crash sheets, crash reports, 25% of all crashes are caused by some kind of distraction.
Wow.
We think that is underreported because it is hard to prove that
Right.
somebody's distracted. And believe it or not, people lie to law enforcement.
Really?
Yes,
No. But even 25% seems high.
it is very high. And if people pay attention and do 4 simple things, they could avoid a lot of these crashes or avoid being involved in a fatal crash. And one is paying attention,
Okay.
wear your seatbelt,
Yep.
don't drink and drive,
Yep.
and follow the speed limit.
Seems simple.
It is simple if you do those simple things.
But the first one, the paying attention, I think that's where we're focusing on. And I think it's like you say, we kind of get so comfortable. And I find myself oftentimes, because it's the same route to and from work to home, you're a little bit of an autopilot.
That happens with a lot of people. And that's when a new stimulus or something new jumps in that they're not expecting, that's when bad things happen.
Right, because they're not really focused on the road or the conditions.
Correct.
Okay. So are there misconceptions? I know, so we've covered, we're saying that general distractions, I mean, loud music or people talking or, reaching for something, eating. Generally, we have an idea, but are there some other misconceptions about distracted driving that you feel like you run into or people commonly have?
I think that people don't think distractions apply to them because
Okay.
they think that they're a good driver and they would never drive distracted, although they don't realize that what they're doing is distracted driving because they're so used to and accustomed to it. until something bad happens.
Okay.
And then they're like, oh, I didn't realize I was doing something wrong.
Mm-hmm.
For example, I stopped a lady that ran a red light today on Highway 41, downtown Chaska.
Okay.
And she said, I wasn't paying attention. And she had blown the red light by at least a second before she entered the intersection.
Wow.
And that kind of distraction is what causes crashes or bad crashes.
What about, say you're stopped at a stop sign, because then that's that's okay to answer a text or something, isn't it?
No, as long as you are part of the traffic, you cannot use your electronic device for anything other than to make a phone call.
But you're stopped.
It doesn't matter. That is one
Okay.
of the places that is the easiest place to see somebody texting and driving or using their electronic device for
Okay.
us to provide that enforcement is when they are stopped, because then you can drive alongside of them or stop next to them and they'll pull out their phone and put it right in front of their face and put 2 thumbs on it. Sometimes you even see them put the 2 thumbs on it above their steering wheel, and you know
Right.
that they're texting and driving or operating their electronic equipment illegally.
So even if they're stopped, they're part of traffic and can't use the cell phone.
Nope,
that.
they need to be pulled over to the shoulder and their car put in park.
Now, so what situations can you use the phone? I mean, is there any sort of the electronic device that's possible to use when you're in traffic?
Well, ideally, if you have somebody in the car with you, you designate them to answer your text for you.
Okay, right.
Hand your passenger your phone.
Yep.
Let them be the operator of your phone or the navigator of your GPS,
Sure,
and let them answer your texts and messages for you.
right,
That's the easiest solution. If you're by yourself,
right.
you can make a phone call and you could call 911 if you see someone else doing this behavior.
Okay, okay. So we want to, we've got a bunch more questions, but we also want to get to the PSAs that the students have created. And so, we'll look out here. We have been working this semester. We've got a whole group of students really talented, and they've been doing a really great job. And so they've created 1-minute public service announcements, PSAs, that we plan on trying to share with the general public on broadcast TV, but also on cable and our YouTube channel. So I think we have the first one queued up, has to do with a group of students that are distracted as they're driving. Why don't we go ahead and play that? Oh, wow. So very clever. I really like that one. I mean, it's hard to do comedy in a situation like this, but what did you think of that? Does it have a message that relates to young people?
It really shows how fast a situation can go from being this party to now, oh no, bad things happen.
Yeah.
And that's what it really shows, how drastic things can change in a split second.
I thought it was interesting that the concept is not specifically texting. I I mean, there was showing somebody texting, but it was this sort of general hubbub and, you know, I mean, in their minds, it's like in their minds they're in their apartment because there's food and there's music and there's talking and it's just, you know, but they're not in their apartment. That was their imagination. They're really in their car. And the car is no place for a party.
Right, and a lot of people will have that mentality that they're in their car and it's a comfortable car and it's a party in their car when they're traveling from place to place.
Right. Now, do you see that much with, I know there's like laws with beginning drivers at a certain age, they can only have one other passenger. Is that, I'm imagining that's an issue when they start getting a whole car full of young people, that it can be distracting.
And it's truly a maturity issue that you have to be able to disconnect from the passengers that are going on, having the party in your car. And you need to be able to have enough leadership as the driver to say enough's enough and stop the party,
Yeah.
because you're creating a bad, dangerous situation for me as the driver.
Yeah. They're reaching for the radio or they're just passing food around and, yeah.
Somebody needs to speak up.
Yep. Yep. And that's one of the campaigns, that speak up.
Yep.
Either the driver or the passenger has to say, hey, wait a minute, let's do this safely.
And when we all team up and all help out each other, it's going to make the roadways in Minnesota much safer.
Right. Do you feel like there's our college students, and so they're kind of focusing on other college students, is there an age group or is there a demographic that is having more of an issue with distracted driving?
Well, the age group between 16 and 25 is really overrepresented in the amount of crashes that they have.
Really? Okay.
And that is, you see that in the insurance rates.
Oh,
That
sure.
once you get to age 25, your insurance rates will drop off. And that's why, it's because they are over demonstrated in the crash facts. They get
Sure.
into more crashes than they should.
Right. Is there any particular time of day or location that there's you see more distracted driving crashes?
Distracted driving happens all the time.
Okay. Yeah.
When people think that there is nothing going around and it's safe, they're more likely
Okay.
to text or to be distracted when they aren't in heavy traffic. But then there are also people that'll be in rush hour bumper to bumper traffic that aren't paying attention because they're going so slow, and they end up getting in these little fender benders
Right.
because they're on their phone and their attention is somewhere else.
The is there different things that people can do to avoid the distracted driving? I mean, maybe it's a mindset.
A lot of it is a mindset. The other thing is you can put your phone away.
Okay.
Put it in a glove box, put it in your pocket so it's not easily accessible, or turn your ringer off.
Yeah.
Do things like that to avoid it, and then make a pact with your family that you aren't going to drive distracted, that you are going to do those things, and hopefully you'll have your loved ones around much longer.
Yep. Well, we've got another PSA that we want to watch. This one was with the other half of students, and they made this one. Actually, it's kind of interesting. We used the truck driving school facility. Some of your Century College has continuing ed classes for truck driving, which they, have a really great program, very safe drivers as part of that truck driving. But they have this really nice open facility, and they let us use it for this next PSA. So I think if we're ready and queued up, why don't we go ahead and play that?
Hey, where are we going? I thought it was my day off. What the heck? Alright guys, so what's the plan today, huh? Oh, hey, how you doing? So, who's the new girl? Yeah, don't mind me. Just talking to myself over here.
So what speed should I set it at?
Well, today we're going to do it 55 miles an hour, and we use the cell phone as well.
Wait, if I'm driving at a speed of 55 miles per hour and I'm blind for 5 seconds, that's the length of a football field. Who would ever do that? Aren't you gonna say something? Tell them to stop. Hey, wait! Even a dummy knows this is stupid.
I really like that commercial. I liked the whole comedy concept, that, I mean, if you think about it, driving distracted is stupid, and even dummy knows that
Right.
this is stupid.
Right. Mm-hmm.
So, but it was a clever, take on it to have the crash test dummy talking. But I want to focus in on the statistic that he was talking about in the middle. At that 55, 60 miles per hour, if you're looking down, in this case, texting for 5 seconds, what sort of distance is that?
Well, at 60 miles an hour, you're going approximately 88 feet per second.
Okay,
So if you multiply 80 times 5,
yeah,
you're over 400 feet.
which is, that's close to a football
That's
field is
three-
300 feet,
Mhm.
yeah. You put it that way,
That's a long way to
not
go.
looking for an entire football field, a lot can happen.
A lot can happen. Mm-hmm.
So, wow. When you put it that way, it doesn't seem like such a good idea.
No, it's not a good idea. Not even for a couple of seconds.
Yeah,
I mean, at 60 miles an hour, even at 3 seconds, you're going a long, long way.
yeah,
And in crash reconstruction, we talk about our perception reaction time. That
okay,
in order to react to something, you have to see it first and
Yeah.
know what it is, and then react to it. And across the board, easy standard is about 1.5 seconds. That's a lot more time than just a simple reaction time. And when you're driving, your reaction time isn't just simple.
Yeah.
It's not like a light comes on and you can hit a button. You have to be able to recognize what that threat is and process it, which takes more time.
am I getting closer to it? Is my eyes registering that this thing now is coming towards me?
Correct.
Yeah,
So perceiving that threat is the first thing, and that's why paying attention is so important. So you give yourself enough time to react
right.
to that threat.
So, that PSA had a little hashtag at the end called Speak Up. Is that a program that the Highway Patrol is working with?
Yes, and that's what we're telling everybody to do. Speak up. Let somebody know if you see something unsafe. If you're driving in a car and you're a passenger and the driver is texting, speak up, say something to them. If they don't have their seatbelt on, speak up, say something to them.
Okay.
If they're being distracted and not paying attention, speak up, say something. If you see somebody in another car doing that, you have a passenger in there, it's okay to call 911 and report that to the State Patrol. They then have a database where they will do what's called an LOI on that vehicle and give a description, even if we don't stop that vehicle or make contact. It will show a pattern for that driver or for that vehicle, which then, once they do get stopped, it helps law enforcement and the State Patrol in their determination of how to handle that situation.
So it's a whole campaign really to help everyone help one another by looking out and speaking up.
Yes.
That's terrific. John, thank you for being with us today.
Thank you.
Thank you, students, for the great job on the commercials that you made. We're going to help everyone speak up. Thanks. This has been Mike 84, Century Today. We're out.